One of my favorite things that Project Moon does is that they incorporate their storytelling into their game mechanics. It's such a cool way to convey the personalities or inner worlds of the characters in a way that doesn't front-load a bunch of information. You really have to dig in and try to understand these details to get the full experience. Though some of these elements aren't explicit in what they're trying to say, sometimes they're a bit obtuse and easy to disregard as just fun visual flavor. Well, I can say with good reasoning that there's more to these games' mechanics, and I want to go through them one by one. If you haven't come to appreciate these details, then I hope my perspective on them changes your mind and gets you to look a little deeper. Their games engage in a wealth of evocative storytelling, which has made me grow a great fondness for them, and I just want to spread that adoration. Do note that many of my takes in this video are speculation based off of observation and discussion, so there's no concrete right or wrong answer. Feel free to speak your perspectives in the comments. Hi, it's Puffle, and welcome to my overview on the sins of Limbus Company. The sins in Limbus Company are defined and categorized as the 7 deadly sins, save for greed kind of getting squeezed into gluttony and being replaced by gloom, a completely unique sin to the city. According to some sources, this might be inspired by the concept of tristitia, which is basically like despair or surrender being mixed into some more Eastern ideas, but I have nothing concrete here other than that. Sorry. Anyway, Limbus Company has a very different characterization of these so-called sins compared to other pieces of media drawing on the, in my opinion, pretty vague traditional descriptors. They're more like profound human emotions being expressed by attacks or egos than they are some kind of innate evil nature. You ever see those skill portrait borders and notice how they look a bit different, depending on the level or the skill or whatnot? Well, there's strong speculation that this growing visual intensity is meant to reflect the strength of the given sin per attack, with the smallest and least impactful border being weaker exhibitions, while the bigger and flashier ones being the more powerful shows. Then there's the occasional sinless attack. Yeah, no idea what these are supposed to represent other than just an attack lacking any of the sins behind it, I guess? Like, we see it in play in like a single fight that I can think of, and earlier defense skills, but overall they're either self-explanatory or a big unknown if you want to overthink it. I'm on to you, Knight of the White Moon. What is your purpose? What are you representing? I just thought it'd be important that I do this kind of video first, as when I go onto my eventual character and abnormality analysis videos, you guys will have a foundation of what the heck I'm talking about, because I'm likely to bring up sins a whole freaking lot, even for Librarian of Arena or Lobotomy Corp exclusive entities or characters. And now, without further delay, I believe it's only natural I go in the usual order of sins when talking about it. So here's our first category. Hey, wait, where's it gonna go? Have you ever felt something was unfair, like a school's rule or even the state of your country? Have you ever been filled with such a burning desire that you just want to break something with your bare hands? Much like a raging forest fire, Wrath's most notable trait is destruction, or the inclination toward it. To raise what stands before you, rip the foundation apart and let it all fall down. But to what end is what determines if Wrath is a good or bad thing. As with all the sins, they are presentably neutral, but can sway into positive or negative expressions. They are emotions, after all. Virgilius is our biggest Wrath representation. Being the only pure Wrath user we know so far, his entire motivation lies in making the city a better place, bearing the burden of guilt and responsibility himself. This does reflect the more positive side of Wrath, as to create a better world you do have to metaphorically kill the present one. It is destruction with a constructive end. It is the fire of the forest that gives way to new growth. However, the more negative ends of Wrath lie in pure destruction. Not anger, not fury, destruction. The breaking for breaking's sake. There is no interest in carving a new path out of the remains. It's only a wish to indulge in the act of crumbling everything in your path, with no concern for who you leave behind or who you crush next. Next up, it's lust. Cut that out. No, stop it. Are you a devoted artist? Are you a social butterfly, someone who feels energized when you get to express yourself to others? Do you feel like you can't live without a social exchange? This is a sin that isn't constrained in your sexual desires or evocations. It covers the entire idea of the human desire to socialize and spread, to give a part of yourself to others. Lust's most notable trait is giving, of carnal desire or otherwise. The more positive ends of lust is within the exchange, to express yourself and to be receptive to external expressions. A friendship, a meaningful conversation, or even partners. The sin is at its healthiest and most reasonable when the ground is equal and the giving is mutual. It's only when the expression gets lopsided or even one-sided that it gets out of hand. For instance, members of the Ring. They force others to participate in their passions, being taken and remade against their will into the image of their forceful sculptors. Blood fiends are shining examples of this. Even religious ideology groups such as the Inquisition exhibit this, as it's the exertion of faith upon either less dedicated or completely unreceptive groups. No, the Index does not count as a lust group. That's a completely different means of forcing ideology on somebody else. That is not lust, that's something else. For it to be lust, it would require a fervor, like a desire, a strong interest, which they do not have. Here, rolls Sloth? Come on, you can go a little faster than that. Come on. Come on. Do you appreciate a nice and steady cycle to your everyday life? Having full knowledge of what comes next because the previous day held the same expectations? This partaking in certainty of the inertia within things is what best characterizes Sloth. It's not simply being lazy, it's consistency, it's reliability, like a clock's ticking mechanisms going, the same way they always do. It's remaining in the flow of cycles, start to end, end to start. Not really doing much to perk up and change anything, because why would you? Everything's just so steady, working just fine. Sloth's more positive ends is in allowing some flexibility. Sure, some can be happy to live a life of constants, but much like allowing a stream of water to part the hills, one who presents Sloth strongly can too allow gradual changes to the flow of their days. A bigger change may face more resistance by the slothful, but bit by bit can that proverbial valley host a stream. However, Sloth can show its more resistant side with others, such as those in the employ of T-Corp. The very system of time as currency itself makes it nigh impossible to change or make better, as it puts defined walls between different classes. If you don't have a lot of time, you go excruciatingly slow, whereas the upper class members of this district are able to go remarkably fast. So fast you can't even understand what they're saying sometimes. The entire system is both constructed and protected by its slothful nature. The inertia is to be maintained at all costs, and any who wish to change its rhythm are crushed by the pendulum. Time for Gluttony! Stop that, spit that out. What do you find satisfaction in? A good meal? A group of friends? A nice home? Like the root of plants digging into the soil for nutrients, gluttony in itself is the process of seeking satisfaction, defined by this relentless search for satiation, what gives one fulfillment and nutrients. It doesn't have to be literal food. The food in question tends to land more so in psychological fulfillments than it does in physical ones. The more positive expressions of gluttony is within moderation, to reach out and grasp for what you need and dipping into wants when appropriate. It's impossible to truly feel right unless you have your basic needs met, such as, but not limited to, food, water, shelter, and rest. Humans need to indulge in these elements to remain functioning physically and psychologically, or else it winds out to all sorts of physical or mental issues. Even things that aren't strictly needed for survival, such as play or investment in hobbies or things you like are important for your well-being. You should never feel bad for indulging in things that you like if it's kept metered. But when restraint is out of the picture is when the uglier ends of it truly show. Gluttony, when allowed to go wild, can manifest in behaviors that are both harmful to the self and others. Theft, addiction, betrayals. Oh, speaking of betrayals, our current phase of gluttony, Danang, is a perfect example. His feelings of inferiority and desires to claw to higher heights led to him backstabbing his fellows and taking up a position in Cape Corp. His final resolution was that he was a giant selfish asshole seeking to better his own position, and that he shouldn't deny that fact about himself. To be a dangerous glutton is to be someone who is completely insatiable, someone utterly incapable of being happy with where they are, someone who needs to consume, to the point that consuming is all they are. Well, enough of that, on to Gloom! Have you ever felt like you were in that deep blue when you were really down? Like after a big argument or a stressful day? Or even several days, feeling like you're in a room full of water but you can't quite drown, feeling the press of emotion on yourself. Gloom is that metaphorical ocean you occasionally find yourself in, or maybe even often find yourself in if you're someone with lots of strong emotions and in your own head a lot. Or depressed, mostly depression. What defines gloom the most is the recognition of futility, or even the surrendering of the self to the metaphorical waves within your heart. Now that isn't to say the sin is all doom and gloom. This isn't an inherently bad thing. I consider gloom to be another one of those sins that is determined by how the one experiencing it decides to act on those emotions. Gloom can be a good thing, where you can use a state of sinking as more of a meditative point, to exercise empathy and see things that others might fail to in other approaches. This is the best state to really be in touch with your own emotions and consider others' states too. The darker side of gloom manifests where you don't do any of this. You don't use this as a point of connection or emotion or contemplation. Rather, you sink deeper and deeper, wallowing in the despair, completely submitting to the pressure. You don't really get better or understand others, you just fall into the dark of your own heart and don't try to pull yourself out. In worst cases, this could manifest as you lashing out from the proverbial deep to drag others down with you, to make them feel the despair you feel. It's time for Pride! No, not that kind, it's a Surely you've had an ambition in life, right? A goal, looking to the future and being willing to stop at nothing to achieve it, to get to that peak. Pride is emblematic of this upward gaze, the desire to advance and achieve, to reach a new pinnacle, be it personal or for the sake of humanity itself. Most manifestations of it are rooted in more personal exploits, but said personal exploits could be intentioned to expand far beyond the individual. The thing that defines the good or bad of pride is what lies between you and your goal, and what you're willing to do in order to achieve it. Having ambition in itself is not a bad thing. It's what's gotten us so far in improving so many facets of our lives. Bearing that confidence to build a new foundation can be a great thing. It can be a mark of leadership and revolutionary thought when tempered and used constructively. If the pride isn't crushing so many things underfoot, sacrificing everything, it could be a force for good. However, I believe our best representative for the worst qualities of pride is the local madwoman captain of the Pequod, Jeez. Much like her narrative counterpart, her pursuit of the whale as almost like a god-given mission, crushing her crew down into mere extensions of herself, putting them through pure hell, and then into the whale's stomach. She didn't care about what she sacrificed, who she sacrificed, even if her own life was on the line, if it meant the whale died. To be willing to throw everything away, no matter what, to grind everything in your path into viscera within the pursuit of a goal is the most telling mark of the negative expressions of pride. And last but not least... Ow, yes, I got you, yes. God, do you have to poke me? That hurts. Envy, it's envy time, gosh. Have you ever had an opportunity unfairly taken from you? Or even an item you really wanted, waited so long in line for, until some jerk cut you in line and took the last one? So, I recognize that wrath and envy may both be motivated by anger or resentment, but in envy's case, it's a lot more targeted than wrath. It's very, I want that, versus wrath's, I'll end this. Envy is a sin best characterized by inadequacy, the comparative gap between you and another, in turn what creates the tension you might feel, and the want to bridge that gap. You might be wondering, how the heck could envy ever be a good thing? Well, that's simple. Comparison is what leads us to recognize what we may lack in ourselves, and in turn become a motivative force to push us to be better people. To strive to have something means you're likely to want to do the work and effort it takes to get to that thing. Like, to want to be as calm as someone you know, or to work in order to buy a cool gadget a companion may have. The negative qualities of envy manifest when you aren't willing to do the process and want whatever conclusion you desire, now that you deserve it. You feel entitled to it. Like Hindley, he believed he deserved to have Wuthering Heights despite being a drunk, filthy, broke man with severe issues and no direction in life. He felt owed it because he resented his father's lack of love toward him, represented by him not bringing home the violin he wanted, but rather Heathcliff, and then showering Heathcliff with love and affection, and favoring him. The moment he couldn't have it, he decided it was best to tear it all down, as that allowed him any satisfaction or control. Envy can prove just as destructive as wrath. The difference lies in the origins of that spark. And that's all of them. I hope you get... What? Oh yeah, I need to talk about greed. Okay, I'll keep this brief. In some earlier stage of Limbus Company's development, it appeared that greed was going to be a sin, but they decided to cut it and make Gloom instead. I assume it's because greed and gluttony might have felt too similar and they wanted to ensure every sin had a distinct identity, and none of them really cover what Gloom covers in terms of the human spectrum, so I get it. Good creative decision, in my opinion. Oh yeah, also, there was like 2 sins found in the files at some point, a black and a white one labeled mad, potentially like madness and angst, but we know nothing about them, and also they might just be scrapped entirely, so unless they spook me in a few years, not much reason to talk about them here. Thank you all so much for watching my first proper analysis video. If you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to talk to others about this topic, reach out in the comments. Think I'm wrong? Do so as well. Remember to like the video if you enjoy it, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of format. I'm really invested in these elements, and Limbus Company is my strongest fixation right now. It lives in my head rent-free. I can't be saved. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and see you next time.